While locked underground, I have filled every single one of my gear slots with something, all in preparation to eventually take on the fight caves. But to do that, I don't just need gear, I need supplies. And getting supplies while not being allowed above ground can be a little bit tricky. This is Goblin Mode, the series where I from scratch try to get a fire cave without ever seeing the sun. The rules are simple. Does an area have a clear view to the sky? Then I'm not allowed to do anything in that area. I will need to find all the resources to get the armor, the items and the levels that I need to take on the fight caves, all while only being allowed to explore caves and dungeons. This is the ideal fight cave setup inventory. A whole bunch of super restores and a couple of Saradomin brews. But obviously I can't make those, and a lot of bosses may drop these items, but in order to get those drops from those bosses, I would need the supplies to kill those bosses, and now we're getting stuck in a loop where I can't do anything. Luckily though, there is one skilling method that I can use to get both of these items so that I can have an ideal fight cave setup, at least as far as the inventory goes. And we've already seen it in the Forthos dungeon, the grubby chest. It can give me normal prayer potions, it can give me normal food, but also Saradomin brews and super restores. I'm gonna need to stock up on a lot of them. There's a couple of issues with this, and we're going to be tackling these one at a time as part of phase 2 of the accounts. The first issue being we need level 57 thieving to even open a door to get to this chest in the first place. I could head back into the Chambers of Xeric and just thieve my way up there, because that might just be the fastest XP that I have for thieving, but I've got a slightly different idea in mind. Because we have here in Keldagrim a market with a couple of stalls, which can give me some useful items and some of them can give me some valuable items. We've done the crafting stall already in the past, a little bit of the bakery stall, but there's also a crossbow stall here, which can maybe give me some pretty useful stuff. Only downside is the guards are a bit of a pain to deal with. And to start stealing from this in the first place, I need level 49 thieving. Right now, I am level 35. I kinda just zoned out for the last 2 hours, and now we're about to reach level 49. Let's go back to Keldagrim, because the crossbow stall supposedly is similar XP per hour to this, but it's actually gonna give me stuff that I care about. I got one round of stealing stuff in, and I got some crossbow stocks. This guard seems to just not care anymore, but now that he's close, he probably is going to care. Not having much luck here in terms of stealing stuff, but as we can see, I need a hammer to do that. As I was saying, we can combine the wooden stock with the bronze limbs, 3 at a time, 12 experience in fletching each. That's not a lot, but it is something, and it's gonna get me some progress. I'm dropping them because I don't have a way to make a crossbow string. But there is a small issue here, and that is that this stall is right in between 2 guards. I can kinda get out of the line of sight of one of the guards. The other one is a bit more trouble though. And if I can't get a setup where I can just thieve without worrying about the guards, this method doesn't really work, so I'm gonna have to try a couple of things out here. And one of those things was logging in with my main account and distracting one of the guards at a different stall. With his aggro being on my main account, I am free to thieve as much as I'd like. So with that strategy, let's reset my XP tracker and just start over again, seeing how much experience I can get in both of the relevant skills at the same time here. This is slightly unfortunate, but you can also get mithril limbs. I don't have a good way to process those into unstrung mithril. Sadly, I need a maple stock for those, and I at the moment don't have a way to get maple. Oh, and if you're wondering, hey, the crossbow stall itself seems to have a crossbow string on it. Can you not steal any of those? No, for some reason there's no crossbow strings on this guy's drop table, which is a little too bad, but mithril bolts definitely are. Also, the limbs seem to be a lot more common than the wooden stocks, so I'm going to be dropping a lot of those as well. It's been what, 20 minutes and we're up another level again to level 50. This guy over here is still trying to get it on with my main account in whatever way you want to interpret that as. At the same time, we're getting about 2,000 experience an hour in fletching doing this. And that is on an account where fletching, at some point, I considered probably untrainable. Took a handful of hours, I think 3 hours altogether of doing this, maybe a little more, but we're level 57. I've got almost 4,000 bronze bolts, and I have been desperately looking on the wiki if there's any way for me to use these at all, and there kind of is, but not really. Because there is this item, the Phoenix Crossbow, which is an item that has the unique quirk that any player can give it to any other player, even if they're an Iron Man. So I did go through and use my main account to get a crossbow and give it to this account. Mostly because I thought it was just a fun, interesting little quirk, but the more I think about it, the more I'm not going to use that thing. You'll see me having it equipped in 1 or 2 clips coming up, but even beyond it just being a technicality to work around the Iron Man game mode, that I, for the most part, don't think should allow me to use this item to begin with. It is then also gotten from a non-underground area on that different account. So by all means, while it is an interesting thing that Iron Man can use this item given to them by other players, I'm not gonna use it. And that means that all the bolts that I just stole are entirely useless. I can't even sell them because they are worth 0 coins, rounded down. I have some baby dragon bones, but more importantly, I have the very first grubby key. And I figured this would be a fun one to just go and claim, see what it gives me after we get a little bit of prayer XP and probably enough to get me to level 33, close to my first protection prayer. And when we unlock the first protection prayer, we might be able to start fighting these guys a little bit as well. That may be interesting. Obviously, we need all protection prayers and preferably even a higher prayer level than that. But for now, we do need to make our way through this area back and forth to go claim our grubby chests. This might be slightly scary. Let me turn on magic prayer as well, as steel skin I suppose would help here. And oh, they're technically, I could have done that before. I could have just waited 10 minutes for them to de-aggro, and then they don't attack at all. I didn't think about that. Grubby chest, let's see what we got. We got a hell of a lot of potatoes, super attack, super strength, and super defense potions. But you can also probably see another issue popping up here already, and that is that this stuff is gonna be filling up my inventory really, really quickly. I'm gonna need a bank. And the closest bank to me, that's Karamja. I can teleport back to Karamja, stuff this into the bank, make my way all the way back over here, and I'll need to do that every 1, 2, 3 chests. By no means an insurmountable task, but also something that is not necessarily super fun. It's a little annoying to do. Banks in general have been an issue throughout the duration of this series so far, because there's not that many underground banks in old school RuneScape. Luckily though, close to the Forthos dungeon, I can unlock a bank. It's just tedious to do. Once I've unlocked it though, there's no problem and it's really, really close. The Woodcutting Guild has a bank in the dungeon that's inside the guild. And the Woodcutting Guild is just around the corner from the Forthos dungeon. That's gonna make it super easy to just hop out, go bank real quick, and hop back into the dungeon. The downside is that I don't have access to the Woodcutting Guild, obviously, because I can't really train woodcutting all that well, because, well, underground, there's not a lot of trees, and I need level 60 woodcutting to get into the guild in the first place. But being underground with almost no trees doesn't mean that I have exactly no trees. I have some options. One particular one that's going to help me get woodcutting experience and allow me to go into the Woodcutting Guild to enter this dungeon. And for all that, we're back at our very favorite place in the world, the Chambers of Xeric. Because here we can get woodcutting XP, and we're gonna need to get a lot of it. So much, in fact, that I don't know how long this is gonna take. We're gonna figure this out in real time. So let's reset everything and see what my XP per hour is going to look like here, because I don't imagine that is going to be great. I'm guessing we're going to end up at about 20 to 25k, compared to, I think, willows are usually 30. Finally, after roughly 20 hours of doing this, and I don't know what it is about this, but this is really, really soul-crushing to do for this long. And 20 hours is not that long for RuneScape grinds, but something about this, man, it's just destroying my will to live. Yeah, I know, I'm not on the ground, just ignore that for a moment. I just want to share this moment with you all. Going through the gates of the Woodcutting Guild, this is probably the happiest I've been ever to unlock any guild in the game. And there it is, all the way back here is the Woodcutting Guild cave that I can now also go down into, and this is where I'm just going to be hanging out most of the time, where there's also ants. This is the other reason that I wanted to unlock this, because yes, this is how I'm now able to train fletching. When I kill these, I can chop wood from them, which I can then use for fletching XP to maybe eventually get a better bow, and otherwise at least fletch my own arrows. For now though, I don't care about that too much. I do want to not be hit by them if at all possible, because what I do care about is back there is the bank chest. And I can just safe spot them right here at the bank chest. This area is really nice. There's a very small area with 3 spawns really close together. And if I wait out the regression timer, they should also not attack me while I'm chopping the logs from this one guy. With that dungeon now unlocked, it is worth considering how am I going to train fletching? What is the most efficient use of my logs? Getting logs is still going to be somewhat painful and gonna be my limiting resource. What is the most fletching experience that I can get out of any given log? Well, if we take oak logs, for instance, and I fletch them into a longbow, that gives me 25 experience. That's not a lot at all. However, if I take that same log and I fletch it into arrow shafts, I get 30 arrow shafts out of that. That by itself only is about 10 experience, which is less. But then I need to add feathers to that, which is another 30 experience, and already just making headless arrows gives me more experience per log than fletching the longbow would. If I then fletch those into iron arrows, iron is a metal that I have fairly easy access to getting a lot of relatively quickly, those 30 arrows gain another 75 experience on top of all that, making for about 115 experience per oak log, instead of just 25. A significant amount more. Granted, I do need to mine and smelt the iron for it, and I do need to invest a little bit of money into getting the feathers, but all that is probably less effort than getting multiple times the amount of oak logs. For any given log, the best thing that I can do with it is turn it into arrows, which is very, very useful for me, because I'm gonna need a lot of arrows anyway. That means that I'm going to need about 7,500 iron bars. Iron smelts only at a 50% success rate. That means that the mining I need to do is about 15,000 iron ore. You can see how quickly I'm getting this. It's not a big issue, but it makes me wonder, maybe I can do this a little differently. Because I have a bunch of rubies in the bank, if I make those into rings and enchant them, they become Rings of Forging, which have 140 charges that will guarantee a 100% smelt chance. For that I need to get to level 49 magic though. We have one wizard that spawns down here, which can give me some magic equipment. And I think that's maybe going to make my magic training a little bit smoother. That's the first one, and it's the most rare one. So that's a really good drop to get after only 14 wizards. And there we go, we have the robes, which means that now I do need to go get money for the runes. Made it to the mage bank without too much trouble. I did go in the wrong direction at first. Ended up at the Chaos Elemental, wasn't a good time, but I can now trade with this guy. and I should be able to get a good amount of runes. And with that, it is time to go back to the 4000 dungeon and probably not leave anytime soon. Some dragon bones have been sacrificed, and we have our first protection prayer unlocked, which allows me to start killing those undead druids if I wanted to. And that should be a pretty good thing for me to be able to do, because if I just put on protect from magic here, they shouldn't be able to hit me. I think I can safe spot these in one way or another. And okay, Isaac, you like this. There we go. So we can just attack these, kill them, and they can drop a air battle staff. If I ever run out of prayer, I just go over here and my prayer is all the way back to full. With this bone, or maybe the bone after, no, it's that exact bone, a level 40 prayer now, and that means the second protection prayer is unlocked. These are the only two that are, strictly speaking, necessary. You could probably do the fight caves without protect from melee without too much trouble. Still, I'm gonna keep going because I need more grubby keys than I have right now. I have 2 in my inventory, 1 in the bank. Also got this temple key, super nice. That unlocks this door for whenever I need to run back out and in. But aside from just it being nice to have protect from melee for when I mess up and I run past a meleeer or something like that in the caves itself, just having more prayer points is good. It turns out that about 4,000 casts worth of runes that I bought at the Mage Arena is pretty much exactly what I needed to get to level 49. It's not going to get me to level 55, which I would have liked for High Alchemy, and I still think we're going to come back here to finish up level 55. And honestly, if I do have High Alchemy in the future, this seems like it might be a nearly self-sustaining place for training magic and prayer, because I can get lots of dragon bones, the grubby keys, obviously, that's the main reason that I'm here. But as you can see, I also got almost 10k in just coin drops, and I have an adamant blade body, a rune longsword, mithril two-hand sword, just a rune sword, and the adamant blade body together is about 30k in high alch value. Along with the 10k in coins that I have, it's 40k. Add another 20, 25k worth of other drops that I just didn't pick up, that I could have alched, other mithril swords, mithril axes, that kind of stuff. If we then can discount getting air runes, because I'll eventually get an air battle staff off of killing those undead druids, this might even end up being slightly profitable. At this point, I'm going to need to ask you to use your imagination, because I don't know what happened to the footage for the next week or so worth of clips, but I used that magic level to make a bunch of rings of forging, used that to smelt 7,500 iron bars, and smith those into 100,000 iron arrow tips. I then went back into the 4000 dungeon, using up another 4,000 or 5,000 casts worth of runes to get all the way up to level 57 magic, and now I have high level alchemy, which means that I finally can start making some real money. I need money because the feathers for this grind are gonna cost a little bit. Almost level 50 prayer, I've gotten 3 extra grubby keys, and I have a couple red dragon hides, which I don't know if that's gonna be useful at any point, but might as well keep them. 60k in coins. And altogether, the grinding that we did against all the dragons back there netted me a total of 7 extra grubby keys. And we're gonna picklock this door over here and loot those keys. I don't know if they're all gonna fit in my inventory. Probably not, but let's open the chest. And that is ranging potions, pretty good. Super defense, don't know that I care about that so much. Some egg potatoes, not the best food, but still, I'll take it. And we've got more of the same, because as much as I love this food, and I can combine some of the potions, I probably am going to get a lot more food than I can use in the fight caves. It's only going to be a couple of food slots, and food is only secondary to getting Cerudomin Brews anyway. If I get Cerudomin Brews, I'm probably going to go in with no food. So if I waste a little bit of food here, it's probably not a huge deal. So let's open this anyway. And that's more egg potato. I'll just drop a couple of those on the ground. And that's more stuff that I don't care about. Well, actually, 2 prayer potions. We've got some prayer potions. That's good. We've got prayer restore. We need a lot more. We're still going to run into the issue that we're getting a lot more food than we are prayer potions. And prayer potions are the thing that we need to stock up on most of all. So between now and me having enough prayer potions or restore potions, I'm gonna get the food I need, don't you worry. We're just gonna need to do all that, I don't know, a couple dozen more times probably. But now that we do have high alch, I'm going to need to put it to use. And the way that I'm going to do that is with a bunch of the ores that I've mined in Motherlode Mine. Because now that I have high level alchemy, Blast Furnace starts becoming more and more interesting. But before we do that, I'm going to make a quick pit stop, of course, here at the Motherlode Mine to get the coal bag here for 100 gold nuggets. And if we're going to be doing Blast Furnace, I need me some ice gloves. I've got 4 HP and no prayer. I'm going to wait a minute here and let my HP regenerate. Let's just go for it, I guess. We should be able to kill her pretty quickly. We've got her right over there. Fire spell selected, and let's go. I'm already under attack. This is not multi-combat. What are you talking about? Okay, she hits pretty hard and I don't have food. And I don't have prayer anymore. Is there a way to save spots? That is the question now. I think the answer may be probably not. But if I keep running away, I can kind of like guide her around. I'm very bad at that though. But maybe I can get that done. This is the hardest boss in RuneScape, man. And just one more. Just one more hit. That's all I need. Oh no! Alright, we're back. So here's the game plan. I'm going to put on Protect from melee and also boost my magic just to get as much damage as possible with the like 7 casts that we have of Fire Strike. Oh, she's still on low HP. She's still on low HP. This is not an instance fight, of course. Yeah, still the same NPC. Ice gloves, there we go. Not a problem. Alright, on a Blast Furnace world, I first need to put some money into the coffer. So let's do that. Let's put in, I don't know, 50k and see how much we have left by the end of it. We dump in 2 inventories worth of coal, which is 54. Usually Mithril would take 4 coal, but Blast Furnace cuts that in half, so it's only going to take 2 coal. So we withdraw 1 inventory of Mithril and we fill up the coal bag again. And then the next inventory we do coal and Mithril again, and that gets us a cycle where I use enough coal every single time, I believe. Not having a Ring of Endurance really makes this even stamina potions in general, to be honest with you, makes it even more tedious than it usually is. Probably should switch the left click there to being fill, but whatever. We're gonna run out of Mithril and coal really quickly, and this will be my last inventory because my coal is all run out now. I could buy a little coal to get through the last bit of Mithril, I guess, but for now I just want to see how much, like 5 minutes worth of Blast Furnace, because yes, it does go by very, very quickly, has gained me in Mithril bars, which I can smith into. I'm gonna look up what is the best bar per high alch, but let's get my money back from the coffer, withdraw everything, 44,708. So I used about 5,000 coins to smelt about 100 bars of Mithril there. It seems like even while not using the Blast Furnace, you can use these anvils, so that's better than the anvil that I have been using. Good to know. I'm looking at the best high alch value per bar for Mithril. Obviously, number 1 is the plate body, but I can't make that yet. It's a couple of levels away. But number 2 is the two-handed sword, which I do have the level for. So I guess I'm going to be making a whole lot of those. And I've got 1 bar left over. We'll just keep that for the time being. And I have, I don't know where it put them. Let's just pull them all out, 35 of them, and let's see what there's high alch for. Put this thing under the high alch icon and just 35 high alch, 1,560 a piece. I've got 35 of them. That adds up to, I believe, about 50 something k, and I spent about 5k and a day mining these ores to make that money. But that is so much better than just straight up selling the ores, which has been the only real moneymaker for me up to this point. I also do need to take into consideration that I am spending about 200 coins per cast in the nature runes and fire runes. I need to subtract about 6.5, 7k, along with the 5k that I spent on smelting, about 12k in cost, but we're already way beyond 12k and I'm only about halfway through the stack. And the last one gets me to 55k. I'm gonna use this money that I have just made and I'm gonna try to see what it feels like to buy the ores, just to see if that is a repeatable method that doesn't involve me mining for a day to make 50k. It's still not good money. So I just switch away to a different world, and here the stock is already good to go. And I can just fill this coal bag, run 2 inventories at a time, and just spend a whole bunch of money getting some coal, and then going back to smelt it. And this is how profitable we end up being if we buy. I started with about 60k, I had 50k from the last Alken, I added 6k to make it go up to about 60, and I ended up at about 78k, which sounds pretty good to make that much money that quickly. However, that resulted in 10 swords, which I needed to alch for runes worth about 200 coins each. But if I didn't have to buy the ores, it would be a lot better. That begs the question, can I mine the ores to process all of this in roughly an hour to an hour and a half to be at least on par or maybe even slightly better than buying the ores would be? And since I need to make money anyway, let's give it a test. Another hour and a half of mining, processing, everything later, we've got 80k, which we have to take into account about 5k worth of blast furnace, about 10k worth of runes, so subtract 15. Still, 65-ish k per hour and a half. Still ends up nearly at 50k an hour, which honestly is almost the same that I would expect to be getting by just buying the ores. I was expecting this to make less money, but be worth it because of the mining guild rewards, but it's making the same amount of money. 350k. That should now be enough to buy what I need to buy. And this is my guy. He's gonna sell me, if he doesn't walk away, packs of feathers. And these are 260 coins each if I buy them in packs of 1. And they contain 100 feathers. So 2.6 gold per feather. I rounded up to about 3 gold per feather, just so that I'm sure that I have enough. I need 100,000 of these. Buying 20 packs at a time, it turns out I exactly had enough money, because now I still have a bit of starter cash to start up blast furnace again if need be in the future. We've got 111,000 arrow tips in the bank, 111,000 feathers in the inventory. Now all we need is 111,000 arrow shafts. And this is where we will get those. This is what our logs look like after an hour. I'm just going to unnote them on the bank instead of storing them, because I need to turn them into arrow shafts right away. Anyway, and let's see how many shafts that becomes. It's 30 per oak log, I think 45 per willow log, and 60 per maple log, but I don't know if I can do maple yet. So about 5,000 arrow shafts an hour. That's only 20 hours of this, which is not as bad as I thought it would have been. Of course, that doesn't include me actually putting together the 100,000 arrows that I need to put together. And this is exactly why, yes, it is possible for me to go all the way up to a magic short bow. I will not be doing that. Oh, and while I'm doing this, I do want to mention that yes, we've looked at the dead trees in the Varrock Sewer before, and that probably would be an altogether faster way for me to get logs to fletch into arrow shafts. The issue is that that takes a lot of clicking, and I just don't feel like doing that. Doing it here at the ends gets me range experience as well, which I need to get anyway, and it is much more AFK. Killing one of these ants takes 1-2 minutes. Then I get a full minute of just wood cutting, which gets me a handful of logs. And this method only taking about 20 or so hours to do. I can do this during a day of work. That means that I can put in 6, 8, maybe even 10 hours a day of this. 2 or 3 days will be all it takes. The Varrock Sewer method is maybe less total hours of grinding, but it's a very intensive method that I can only do for a handful of hours a day. So while yes, that would be faster, no, actually it wouldn't be faster, because instead of taking 2 or 3 days, it would probably take over a week to get that done. And then I would still have a bad range level and couldn't equip the yew short bow anyway. Level 65, we can now take a knife to a yew log and say, make 1 yew short bow. Small issue though, no bowstring. And for that, we are here at the Orania altar. I'm gonna wait for my run to recharge a little bit, I think. But somewhere in here, there is a Zamorak Ranger, and that is the only way for me to underground get bowstrings. He drops 10 at a time. That's a warrior. That's not what I want. At a 1 in 25 rate. Oh, there's a ranger right here at the end. Oh, that's fantastic. And he dies pretty quickly to just my iron arrows, it seems, and I need to flick this a little better. Once you're out of the rhythm, it gets exponentially more annoying to deal with. Okay, just drop the bowstring, man. It's not bowstring. And now I'm fighting a cave lizard. Fantastic. Is he still aggressive against me? Is he? I think he's gonna be. I'm just gonna keep up the prayer for now, and if we really need to start flicking, I'll do it toward the end. If I have to go drop rate or even over drop rate, obviously this is the amount of prayer that I'm using for 1 kill. That's not happening, but man, we can get lucky. Mithril arrows, that is kinda nice, I guess, but I don't really have a use for that. I have a slightly adjusted ID, because restoring prayer is just not something that I can do, aside from dying or going to the 4th house dungeon. I don't know if there's any other underground altars at all, maybe? So that's gonna be a bit of an issue. I'm gonna need to rely on food. There is a bank at the Orania altar, so I can bank. That's why I got these runes. It costs 10 runes to use that bank. So if I stock up on a lot of cakes, I'll have some food. I wish there were a wine stall down here. That would be ideal. But I don't think there is, right? Oh, hold on. The King's Axe Inn in Western Caldegrim sells them at 10 coins instead of 1 coin each, but I can buy wine. That might be better than whatever the hell I'm doing here. Although, if it is one of those pubs where you can only get drinks by going through a dialogue option, I'm just gonna thief cakes, because I hate doing that. It certainly seems like that might be the case. Yep. 1 fine wine, please. 10 coins. Pay. There's one more shop underground that sells wines, but it's in Varlamore, so I can't get to it. Well, with this... Oh, we've got one more 2/3 cake, so I guess we get rid of some of the earth runes, take out the cake, and just give it another shot. This one is going to be number 25, which means that this would be on rate. If I don't get it here, I'm officially dry. Though technically I think if you go beyond 70% to drop rate, that's technically unlucky. Statistical distributions and math stuff. Well, either way, I am unlucky because 25 kills and no 1 in 25 drop. Yeah, this doesn't look very good. This looks very bad, actually. Let's switch to mithril arrows real quick, just maybe because he can hit up on 9. I gotta leave. We'll be back here when I have better armor, because this is just a little much, and to be fair with you, I don't really need the U-bow necessarily right this moment. I'll need it for the fight caves. But there's 2 more things that I need, and that is armor that doesn't suck, and I need arrows. I've got a lot of arrows, but I'm not going to go into the fight caves with iron arrows. The whole reason we're doing a U short bow, because of the accuracy, but also because of the rune arrows, and I need a lot of those to go through the fight caves with. Next time, we're going to focus on at least one of those things.